So excited. Thanks, Mary, for remembering to record. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you the three most effective, not the only, but the three most effective career change strategies after 40 to bring you immense joy, not just a little bit of joy, immense joy without risking the house. Okay, tiny bit of housekeeping to begin with. Please stay on mute. It's just easier if we could do the presentation and then we're going to go to questions and answers afterwards. If there is something urgent, i.e. you can't hear something weird has happened with me, my hair has gone on fire, please put it in the chat and Mary will somehow tell me. Turn off your phones if you can. Yeah, this is 45 minutes to focus on you and your future career and your future career happiness. Let's focus. Now, in the chat, Mary will be popping in the workbook. So if you've downloaded it, you've seen many emails from me, thank you very much, you will have access to the workbook. If you haven't, Mary's going to pop it into the chat and you can download it immediately. It's really simple, doesn't take loads of reading. I just want to engage you to make sure that you remember these three strategies and that you maybe write down some questions or think about some questions. Final, I barely need to say this because I do not attract people who are unkind. But I just keep this a lovely place. If you've got negative criticism to give me, give it to me personally. But let's just be supportive of everybody in the room. Okay, you are in the right place today. If you want more energy / meaning, / satisfaction or joy, you are in the right place. If you worry, it might be too late to make changes at your age. You are definitely in the right place if you want to take control of your future happiness, but you're not totally sure where to start. And these final two, you might have so many ideas on what you might do if you don't do what you're currently doing, but you just don't have a method to decide which is best for you. Or you might be the kind of person who has zero ideas what will work better for you if you leave your current career behind. What I would love you to do, and this is the only piece of engagement I'm going to ask until the end of the presentation, I would really love you to pop in the chat which of these resonates most with you. And I'm going to give you a little second to do that. Okay, what I'm seeing. Okay, lots of threes, lots of twos. A 1 and a 3 together. And you could have multiple of these. 3, 3, 3, 1, 5. Zero idea. Do you know what? That is the most common situation I see. But don't worry, I'm going to show you what to do and how to get more. It's got 3, 1, 1, 1, 5. Brilliant. Now, I tell you what, I don't see a 2. Ah, a little 2, a little 2. Brilliant. Thank you very, very much for sharing that. Right, let's keep going. And let me close this little chat down a little bit. Okay, so there's going to be no surprise here. I'm going to share what the strategies are right at the beginning. I am going to show you how to create time and energy for work that will be more joyful. I'm going to show you how to know with certainty, absolute surety, that the future work you do will be energizing and well paid. And I'm going to show you how to generate lots of ideas for your future and then identify the best one, sometimes two, for your unique situation. By that, I mean your resources, your brain, your fear, your appetite for change, all of those things. And I'm going to show you these so that you can make 3 choices. The first choice you might want to make is to continue in your current job or company, but do work that excites you more. Now, excites you more will be different for every one of us. It might be with stronger boundaries or better work-life balance or more creativity or more recognition or simply more pay. B, you might want to get promoted, either within your current company, within a different company, or within a new industry. Yeah, so that you can do more of what you love, but in ways that you've designed to bring you more joy, as well as earning more. And the third thing you might want to do is start your own thing, instead of your current work, or as well as more joy-filled work. And these 3 strategies give you control. I consider them your joy control buttons. So you can dial up joy and dial down stress. And I'm not going to distract you now, but when we get to the questions, the lovely Mary is also going to pop into the chat a downloadable fear of failure. It's a little mini book, maybe 10 or 12 pages maximum. And it is the light-hearted way to destroy your serious fear of failure. And the reason I'm giving you this, and you can't get it on my website or anywhere else, the reason I'm giving you this is the biggest blocker to career change. We have to find ways to reduce our fear of failure so that we can play, think creatively, and design a prototype that will get better for you in terms of joy. Just in case, well, let's make sure you're in the right place. You are not in the right place if you're already deeply fulfilled in your job and your joy level is 100%. Now, one of you here, Kevin, I'm talking about you, you might, I know you're deeply fulfilled, but maybe you're not at 100%. You might be in the wrong place if you're hoping for a magic pill or something that requires zero effort. My business coaches tell me off constantly for saying things like career change after 40 isn't easy. It's super complicated, but we can make it easier, but it's effort filled. And I will not deny that. And you're also in the wrong place if you get offended or upset when someone gives you some brilliant free training. I hope you think it's brilliant, and then shows you how you can work with them at the end. That is what's going to happen. So why has joy at work become my major obsession? Let's go back into the past. Yeah, I'm going to show you a picture of me. You can see a picture of me in 2016. I just graduated from my master's in psychology. I'd gone back to retrain, ridiculously retrain, and I look quite energized there. But 6 months earlier, when I finished this master's, I was on my knees, absolutely exhausted. 16 assignments, 16 exams, a 6-month dissertation. I was exhausted. So you're seeing me at my best here dancing with the university mascot. But why am I showing you this? Because whilst I was there, I had 3 pieces of insight that convinced me that joy of work is not a luxury. I looked at loads of stress at work research, loads of it. And so much of it, there was a direct correlation, sometimes a causal relationship, to chronic diseases. I also looked at end-of-life research, an amazing piece of research that came out maybe 6 or 7 years ago by a lady called Bronnie Ware. And she interviewed men in their 80s who had been breadwinners, who were at the very, very end of their life. She was a palliative care nurse. And she interviewed them. And some of the conclusions from that, she looked at their top 5 regrets. And their number 2 most common regret was that they wished they hadn't worked so hard. But hard is something my generation, you in the room, it's kind of inbuilt into us. It's a Generation X thing that we really, really value grit and hard work and dig deep tenacity. But also personal research. Yeah, I have, you probably do too, way too many friends and family who've got to the end of their lives or died early, having spent way too many years doing work that wasn't joyful. So I feel that we need to go into the future after that slightly sad comment. So let's go into the future. Whilst I was at university, I had some time to think, what does my future look like? And so this is not me, 65 years old, but this is my mum. Yeah, 67, 68, 69. And apparently I look exactly like her. So I might look like this when I am 67. So when I was quietly thinking, at the end of my work life, what do I want to feel when I look back at the 8, 10, often 12 hours I have spent in my career on a work day? What do I want to feel? And I wanted to feel more joy because I now knew that if we feel more joy at work, we'd simply have more energy, more vitality for life, but not just life at work, life beyond work. We also live longer and healthier lives. We have better relationships in work and out of work when we experience joyful work. And we enter the age of my mum or older and have no regrets. And the final piece is, and this was surprising and not part of my primary research, we earn more if we do work that makes us feel joyful. And this gives us, when I was doing my research for the book, I interviewed 100 people who had changed career and had described themselves as feeling happier for having done so. And almost everyone, not everyone, but almost everyone said that the joy they felt came from freedom, control, and choice. And these three strategies will give you the freedom, control, and choice to dial up your joy at work. So that's why I created a method to design much more joy at work. I call it the Fierce Method. So even though you understood all of that, you might still be thinking, I'm too old to take a risky leap of faith into something new. You might be sitting there thinking, I just can't afford to start again at the bottom. I haven't got any time to retrain. And you might, and I honestly, this is probably how I would have felt 8 years ago if I'd come to one of these presentations. You might be thinking, joy at work. I know no one who feels joy at work. Never mind immense joy at work. So you might be sitting in absolute disbelief that it's possible for you. I assure you it is. And I have taught this method of career change to hundreds of clients over 8 years, but I've researched it. I've tested it with all sorts of clients in all sorts of industries, in all sorts of functions, and in the last 4 years in all sorts of locations across the world. And I'm going to show you 3 case studies. I'm going to try to move through them fast, but 3 case studies in detail. I'm not going to show you their real name, except for one, and I'm not going to show you their faces. Most of my clients require privacy, so you're going to see the back of some lovely heads and hairstyles, and I hope that's okay for you. The number one, the easiest place to start in creating joy at work in a career change is to create some space for it. Most of the people I work with, most of the people in the world I see are super, super busy. But they're super busy often doing things that I call their kryptonite. And I see most career changers in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. I see them waiting until they have the perfect idea before they make any change. I see them not reserving enough personal daily energy to make career change possible. I see them accepting levels of stress, inefficiency, pain, annoyance, any of those things that drive you crazy, that hinder their potential for career change success. And most of the career changers I see, or the people who want to change career, have no clear method to proactively design tomorrow to be better than today. So what's this kryptonite? How do we reduce it? So I define kryptonite as people, processes, places, environments, or activities that drain your energy. These are like your black holes of energy. Yeah, they make you procrastinate because you don't want to do these things. So you procrastinate until the very last moment, and then a deadline happens and you have to do it. Yeah, so that's your motivation. They drag your mood down, they suck your soul dry. And these are the things that if you've been doing them for a large part of the day, you carry this very heaviness home with you to work, home from work to your family. So here's the example around reducing your kryptonite. So I worked with John. He was 51 or 52 when we first met. He had 4 children and he'd worked in medical science all of his life. He was exhausted. And he was exhausted because he spent his whole day back-to-back meetings. And when he wasn't in meetings, he was trying to squeeze in some deep work, into half-an-hour slots here and there. He had emails pinging all of the time. His phone never stopped in our first conversation. And he never had time to think. So he decided that he would work with me, and the hours that we would have together would be his thinking time, because he needed things to change, because life as a father of 4, being this exhausted, wasn't working for him. So what we did is we very lightly figured out which bits of his work day, work week, and work month were energizing and which were dragging him down. And we realized that there were parts of his work where he was, and this is a little inventor image I've tried to create, he was creating something, he was solving problems. And in his world of medical devices, there were a few processes. The process was figure out the client's problem, invent a solution, come up with a prototype, and then a load of things like marketing, positioning, pricing, getting product to market, etc. And we realized that all of the things after the prototype were drain sucks for him. So what did we do? So first of all, he spent more time at home, working from home, which he hadn't done before. And that gave him the focus to reduce the time spent doing the end of life stuff. And that energized him enough to think, what could I do? I love this stuff so much, but I can't make a big flex. I was employed to do this job. I have to do this job. So he kept doing that job for a little while. But in the meantime, he created enough energy by reducing his kryptonite so that he could do the invention. And it was energizing work, so he could feel his energy doubling and doubling. And so he created a consultancy around that. So his uniqueness was this early stage process. And he had so much energy that he was also invited to lecture at local universities. So why this works? If you can reduce your kryptonite activities, you literally gift yourself time and energy. And that time and energy can then be focused on the actual changing of career. And for some, this is actually enough. This one strategy can give you enough energy to enjoy life more, enjoy work more. So have a think about that. That's the first start. And in your workbook, if you've got it open, I would encourage you to think of one element of your personal kryptonite that you could somehow think of a plan to delegate, reduce, outsource, or what's the other one? Whatever, do something else with it to create some more space. That's it. So now that we've created more mental space and physical time and emotional energy, how do we then take the next stage of focusing on joy? Strategy number 2, to bring you immense joy after 40 while changing career, is to discover your uniqueness. Oh, look, beautiful spelling mistake there. So this strategy has the biggest influence on your earnings. And it's not just once. If you discover your uniqueness, it has a big influence on your earnings forever. So most career changers in their 40s and 50s make a few mistakes around this, but they simply just have no idea what makes them stand out from the crowd. They also don't demand enough in terms of financial compensation for work that energizes them. And they have no idea which activities they perform that bring them immense joy. By that, I mean there's no connection between this intellectual knowledge work that they do and a bodily connection that feels like joy. Now I feel that absolutely in my belly. Other people feel it in their heart. Other people might feel it elsewhere. But the fourth thing is they have no clear method to proactively design tomorrow to be better than today. So how do you find your uniqueness? In my world, these are 4 superpowers. I believe that there's 4 superpowers that you do, that every single person in this room does uniquely. These are tangible activities that you do lightly, speedily, easily. You could do these things all day and have more energy at the end of the day than at the beginning of the day. These are activities that you always gravitate towards. If somebody says, hey, does anybody want to? Your hand is up before the sentence is finished. These are activities that you can't stop doing, even if they're not needed, wanted, or valued. These are activities that bring you energy, bring you fun, and immense joy, whatever that feels or looks like for you. Now, that sounds really easy, but it's kind of complicated finding these superpowers, because the tricky thing is that because you do these easily, lightly, speedily, they energize you, you like them, all of these things, our generation has been brought up to not value things we do lightly, easily, speedily, better than everyone else. And because you do them lightly, easily, speedily, better than most people you know, you don't value them, which means sometimes I have to pick apart what's going on in people's heads to then suggest this. And when I suggest the final superpowers, people are always like, yeah, I love those things. And then I say, well, what if you got paid to do them 8 hours a day? No, that's not possible. But if it is possible, it's absolutely brilliant. So here's an example. So I met Kira just after her 40th birthday. And to everyone around her, she looked like she was the most successful human. She was qualified in one of the big 4. She'd moved up into tax, into senior management in tax. But this woman was more bored than I've ever seen anyone. And she was so dedicated to finding the answer to her problem of purpose and boredom that she'd read every possible, what are they called? Self-help book around career. Every possible one. She could quote them to me. But she wasn't able to take the actions from the book and put it into real life. So she She knew she had to figure out what she was brilliant at and find a new direction. So I'm going to show you, there's a very complicated process, but it is possible to do this yourself. But there's a complex process that ends with this super simple list. I'll give you a second to read them. So I have highlighted 3 of them with a different color, with the blue. And the thing I want you to notice is that 3 out of the 4 of them are human superpowers, which is just my language to say these only happen when other people are involved. These have nothing to do with numbers. In fact, even though her career was numbers, none of these have anything to do with numbers. So she was probably using superpower number 4 a little bit and almost none of the others. She used them in her breaks at lunchtime, etc., but she didn't get paid to use them. So once she discovered those, it was like a light bulb went off in her mind. She put them in her bag. She put them above her Zoom screen. She put them in her work phone as a, whatever it's called, screensaver. And she deliberately brought them to every single meeting. Yeah, and she might go, oh, that's a tricky meeting. Which one of my superpowers am I bringing? With it just over 12 months, she had 2 different job offers. The first was a promotion in her direct team. Not something she desperately wanted, but something she accepted because those people saw that her human skills would help lead this team. 6 months later, maybe a bit more than 6 months, 6 or 7 months later, she got her ideal dream job, which was moving out of the numbers and moving into people problems. So transformation work, systems, processes, human influence positions. So not only did she go to work energized every day, she has plenty of extra cash. So why does this work? It works in Kira's case because she embedded the superpowers under her skin and carried them with her everywhere, which meant that she took control of her daily joy at work. And when she did that, everybody noticed. People were talking about Kira. Have you seen this? Why didn't you ask Kira about that? And that influence that she had through her superpowers became way more obvious. So when you start to think about your superpowers, here's a tiny little thing I'd love you to do, is just start to notice this week or next week, which activities increase your energy? Which activities do you want to do more of? Give you tiny jolts of joy? Or just feel bloody good? Yeah, so create a list. One of my clients used his aura ring, you know, one of those exercisey things. I'm not very good with those, but use that to test his energy. You know, you might just look at your diary yesterday and go, which one of those activities were the most energizing? Okay, we're going to move on to number 3, because we've now deleted the soul suckers, the energy drains, and we've understood our uniqueness. So the next stage, the final strategy is, how do we decide on which new direction is the right direction for us? So most career changers, or certainly the ones I meet or talk to or read about, in their 40s, 50s and 60s have zero ideas about their future. So I think it was Joyce, I'm not sure, but somebody said they had zero idea about their future and don't know how to find one. Yeah. But some others have literally a bazillion, endless ideas, but have no way to figure out which one is spot on. Some, actually many, become crippled by the indecision or overwhelmed by the potential risk. And because they've got no clear method to reduce the risk of making the wrong choice, they literally stay stuck. And this was the reason I called my business Midlife Unstuck, because this capturing in one spot, and especially if you know it's the wrong spot, is very, very frustrating. So the final strategy that I'm going to talk to you about is about a method to expand and then narrow and then absolutely identify the right next direction for you. So some of the key parts of this is we focus on problems, not ideas. I see loads of people saying, I've got no idea. And so what we do is we focus on the problems that individuals are interested in their lives. And they might not focus on these problems in work. They might focus on them in life, in their daily sport, them anywhere. So we focus on all the problems they're interested in. And we need to get enough ideas to be able to analyze and see the recurring patterns. And then we get super analytical. So the first part is really creative and emptying the mind. And the other is, if those are all the problems in the world that are interesting to you, how do we analyze them enough to satisfy our need to reduce risk at this age of life and stage and responsibilities, etc.? And we narrow that down to the smallest number, which is typically 1 or 2, and we create a prototype, which is absolutely connected to superpowers and absolutely avoids your kryptonite. And this is how we do it. I'll give you an example. So this is a real name, Kirsten, but I haven't got her photograph here. So Kirsten retired from teaching. She spent 32 years teaching. So it was her first job and her last job. And she felt that the shackles had been taken off. She was unleashed. And she was quite young because she started teaching gifted children when she was really young. And she had plenty of energy left. And she had enough money to retire. Yeah, 32 years in one career. She had plenty of money to retire. But she was way more ambitious than that. She wasn't ready for the rocking chair. But she had absolutely no idea what direction to work in. But what she did know is that she wanted to do something more creative. She wanted to do something. She was great with people. Absolutely. She in her spare time, she did stand-up comedy. Super with people. She'd worked for charities. She'd volunteered. This woman had energy with people. And she really, really wanted to learn how to start and grow a business. And she was interested in making real money. She wasn't interested in a tiny little business. She was interested in something that had potential to grow. She knew these, but she had no idea what her direction was. So what we did, of course, we discovered her superpowers. Of course. But the piece that's relevant to this strategy is that she went from no idea to within 2 weeks having 180 problems that she was super interested in. And we used the method that I've created to narrow that from 180 down to 120, down to 17, down to whatever, 5, 7, and then down to the final 1 or 2. And she decided on 2 problems that when we analysed it, we knew that her superpowers could be there. We knew that her kryptonite could be avoided, and we created a prototype for the one that she was most excited about, the one that she went to sleep thinking about, the one that she woke up going, oh, I can't stop thinking about that one. So we chose that one to start with. And so what she did was she created a business that's called Vivid Cottage. And what it does is she graduated in fine art, and she spent many weekends or many summers off learning various art techniques. And so she created a card company that does tea towels, fabrics, textiles, and it would all be on her art. And I'm just going to show you this. I'll try and get it in the screen because I know it's kind of small. I'll show it to you later. So this is one of her cards that she sent me for Christmas. And she started off with her prototype in crafty farmers markets just to test it, and it flew. So then she went bigger and she went to trade. What are they called? Anyway, trade scenes, yes. And then she started creating partnerships. This one is with the Smithsonian. Like, this is no small business, but it's only one of her businesses. And when you see her, I follow her on Instagram, we talk once a year. This woman is excited and growing a business. She's still got her second idea, which she just started this year. So she's 4 years in, just started this year, a business called Curate Your Mate. And it is a dating coaching business. So why this strategy works? It works because Kirsten's narrow focus meant that she felt super confident that she'd looked at every possible idea. So her narrow focus on the 1 and 2 ideas meant that every single action she took brought her way closer very quickly to joyful, well-paid work. So when you know all the problems that interest you, it's really very possible to work through analytical methods to identify the very best idea or the very best couple of ideas to then research and make sure that they will utilize your superpowers daily and that they will avoid your kryptonite daily or mostly. And then we design a prototype for your next career and we test it. So think about, if you were to take this strategy forward this week, think about small and specific problems in your work life or real life that fire you up. Let me just check time. Oh, good. We're doing well. So problems that you might be interested in solving in different ways, and just start a list. Okay. So you're here today because you want to feel more energy, purpose, meaning, joy. You worry that it might be a bit late. You want to take control of your future happiness, but you struggle where to start. And you've got so many ideas. Either you've got so many ideas on what you might do and can't decide what's best, or you've got zero ideas of what will work better for you if you leave your current career behind. So if you want to make career changes to reduce stress and optimize for immense joy, 3 strategies, let me remind you. Reduce your kryptonite. Create that space for clever thinking, for energetic thinking, for possibility thinking. Discover your uniqueness, yeah? So figure out those 4 activities that you do that give you absolute control over your joy. It's never absolute if you're working with other people, but it gives you way more control. And then decide which problems excite you the most. I decided a problem 8.5 years ago, and I'm more excited today about solving it than I was then. So you can do this alone. I've shown you how to do it. Some of it's a bit more complicated, particularly around superpowers, but you could do this alone, or you could consider doing it with me. I offer 3 programs, and they range from the Fierce and Pouring. It's exclusively a group program. I call it my 3rd child because it took me a year to develop it. You can also work with me in the Fierce Accelerator, which is the Fierce Emporium plus a little bit of one-to-one, or the Speedy Sherpa, which is done for you the fastest possible. I do most of the heavy lifting, but it doesn't matter which program you join. We cover all of those 3 strategies and more. You'll get step-by-step training, accountability, community, because nobody wants to do this stuff alone. I did it alone, and it was one of the most painful experiences I've ever experienced. But also you get course corrections from me and my team. So if you are going off down a rabbit hole, I can pull you back and refocus you and ask you the right questions. And some of them, as I said, have one-to-one time with me. But it's not enough, these 3 strategies. So when I press this next button, it's a slightly overwhelming slide and I apologize for it. But as well as strategies, you need tactics. And I'm just going to show you some of the tactics we deal with. And I apologize, that is a lot of words. So I'm going to keep quiet and let you glance through them, and then we'll move on. Okay, so you see some of those tactics will really resonate with you and some won't. And we cover all of those. Okay, so you might still be thinking, will this work for me? I've got 10 really speedy case studies and I am going to whiz through them like a wild thing so that we've got time for Q&A. Okay, so Dana had already retired in her 50s and hated it. It's cold and wet and dark in Ireland in winter, and she had loads of energy left, but no idea how to point it in the right direction. So we went through the process we've talked about, and the results are she created 2 businesses. One is a property business where she drives a white van and is the laughing stock of her female friends, but she loves it. And the other is she's creating an app to improve financial literacy for women. Killian is nowhere near retiring. Yeah, he's the sole breadwinner, has 3 children, and could not earn a penny less than he was earning. He also had not a moment's time. So what we needed to do in order to give him the time to think is we needed to figure out what his kryptonite was and negotiate down on his kryptonite. And whilst he did that, we also found his superpowers, which he brought to work every day. And his boss was leaving. Some 3 months later, his boss was leaving. And even though he thought his boss didn't like him, she recommended that he take over her job. So he got promoted within 4 months of working together. But the best thing for him was that he had somehow learned to create some time to do the fun stuff beyond the kids, beyond the family, just for him. So he wrote a children's book that he'd been dreaming of for a decade. And he also volunteered and created new networks in democracy advancement organisations. Eva. So Eva, quite similar to Killian, she could not find time to do our work. So she asked to work with me one-to-one because she needed me to do the heavier lifting. So we discovered her superpowers quickly and her kryptonite. And before we'd even moved on to the direction finder, she got promoted. So we're talking maybe 4 months. She got promoted to finance director, and within 12 months of working with me, she was promoted to MD. So she got exactly what she wanted, which was out of finance, but she wasn't expecting to get it in her current company. Marie, opposite kind of experience, trapped by success. She was a brilliant businesswoman. She'd had the same business for 15 years and it had gone crazy. So she was a seriously high earner, but she was slowly fading away. And so we realized from the superpowers discovery that she was only using one superpower. So that made sense. So what we then did is reduce her kryptonite. She can do her work now in 3 hours per day, which means that she had the time to identify a really exciting idea, which was all of her life around work was around health. And she's created a new business to bring health entrepreneurs together. Pete, one of the very first clients who joined the Fierce Emporium, he used to envy roadside workers. And all he wanted to do was be outside, be away from the computer. He was dulled to death by his work. And an opportunity came around lockdown, so he could relocate his family back to Ireland, where his wife came from. And for fun, whilst he started working together, he said, I'm just going to do this little garden design course. It's not very much, but I really fancy it. And by the end of our working together, he created a garden design business, relocated countries, and he now works, so he's probably 5 years in, and he works 9 months a year and has 3 months off in the dark winter of Ireland. Lena. So Lena was a technology lawyer. Yeah. And so we were just working on her superpowers. And one comment I said when we were talking about her superpowers was that you light up when you talk about pensions. And she logged this. And over a number of, I don't know how long it took her, maybe a year and a half. Yeah. She went from spending a small amount of her time in pensions. I mean, that's a weird thing to love, isn't it? But we're all kind of weird. So a small time in pension to a huge amount of time. So all of her time is working on a problem that she really is interested in intellectually and otherwise. And so she's earning way more than she ever thought possible. Jolene. So she had her own business, bored to death, and procrastinated on everything. Every single thing she procrastinated on until the deadline happened. So after working together, over 3 months, 4 months. So she ended up saying no to all the clients who didn't need or want her superpowers, which meant she had time and energy. So she has created a new consulting business that has turned into an international joint venture. She is having the time of her life and she's working 4 days a week. I don't often, I've had 3 clients in their 60s and oh my God, they're my favorite. Only because I just have such optimism that when I get to my 60s, I know I won't be done yet. I want to do work that's satisfying. So that's what we did. So she had spent all her life in big companies, had no idea how to set up a small business, relocated, is happier than ever and has some amazing conversations about joy at work with her 30-something-year-old daughters. Final one. I don't know what I want or need, but I don't want this. Yeah, that's certainly how I felt 10 years ago. So Saoirse from the Midlands, she was an engineer. This is someone who should never have been an engineer. But parents were engineers. It was very natural. It was the wrong career for her, but she'd spent 23 years in it and she was burning out. So over time, we had to figure out how for her to use less energy doing work that she hated. And she tried to leave so many times, but she needed a method to reduce her fear of failure. So one of the new skills I teach people is a different way to network, which opened a new door to her into a brand new industry. And she spent her weekends and life loving food. And so she's ended up in a new industry. Oh, I'm very sorry. Last one. Adrian his role was made redundant at 55. And long story short, he secured his first ever CTO, Chief Technical Officer role in a startup, age 57. That was a big day of celebration. Colleen, burning out, boring down. Similar theme here. So she made a decision on a new direction and actually ended up going back into an industry she'd worked in 10 years ago, but got almost double salary, more holiday, and is delighted and excited about her future. So will this work for you? I don't know if this will work for you, but all I'm saying is, wouldn't it be worth having a conversation to see if this would work for you? So there's a link at the bottom. Maybe Mary will put the link in the chat to see if you want to have a chat with me. What happens in these calls? Absolutely no hard sell. You tell me about you. You tell me about your situation. And if I think I can help, I'll tell you which of the programs fit your goals, your budget, your fear, your everything. Yeah. And if you book in a call sometime in January, I'll gift you for free Derailed, which is currently £29, but will be £49 next week. That is it. I'm going to stop sharing. We've done okay for time. I think it's 40 minutes, 43 minutes. Woo! So I am going to change the view so that I can see people and not just me. And I'd love it if either Mary, if there's been loads of questions, I can't see anything, but no. Okay. So does anybody have any comments, any questions, any thoughts on anything? Oh, you need a lot of bravery to come on.
Hi.
And hello, Joyce.
Sorry, I'm in my childhood bedroom in
That's
Ireland, visiting my parents. I guess I'm in the tech career, but I don't get stressed out about it. I make it work for me. Lots of excuses of an amazing pension. I live near the beach in Brighton, so I can get on the beach in the summer. I might finish about 3. So I think I'm in that uber comfortable. But
Yes.
I've been in the job for 11 years. So I guess what I'm feeling is start with the derailed stuff. Because it's not that I guess I can see the positives in it, but I'm a bit like, I'm 46. I've been doing this for 11 years. If not now, when? I guess is thinking. So yeah, that's me. It feels I've had 2 career coaches before. So I'm a bit more, should I just spend some time thinking what I like, what makes me happy? But the question I have is that one problem. I guess that's not all about me creating a business. I'm not sure I want to do that. It's just knowing what I need to research, I guess.
That's it. That's it. So I would say 30% of the people I work with create a business, first off. Right. Yeah. So it's relatively low. But everybody I work with decides the direction. Right. Yeah. So that means I think we can sometimes get focused on how we would make that work. Is it a partnership? Is it a business? Is it me? Is it a job? When actually that's just how we get paid. Yeah. And what fits with our lifestyle and all of that stuff. The more important bit is the first 2, avoiding a kryptonite, which you don't seem to have kryptonite in this role. You're a bit boring, but nothing that's eroding you. Yes?
No, I think, it's finding my talent, not my, like, I don't have a passion, but it's finding talent. I'm not into that finding my passion thing. It doesn't work for me. I'm like, what's my talent? That's basically, I feel, where I'm stuck.
That's where you're stuck. Because once you know that, yeah, and by that, I think the 4 talents we're talking about, not just one, you've got 4 of them, at least, yeah? Then you can design your current work to be more joyful. And then you can decide in a year's time, is it joyful enough? Have I got more energy? Is the family, do they need me? Do I want to live in Brighton forever? Then you can make better decisions. But I think that's kind of the non-negotiable. Whether you want to make change or not, figuring out the 4 things you do brilliantly and bringing them to work with you tomorrow. Big time. Big time. Oh, so envious. Do you get to swim every day?
I could if I was brave enough with the cold water, but sometimes. But in the summer, 3 or 4 times a day.
Lucky devil. Are you Irish though?
Yes.
Aha. We're from where?
County Kerry.
County Kerry. I'm from Antrim.
Okay. Very far away.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your bravery in asking the first question. Yeah. Does anyone have, and it doesn't need to be a question, it could be a comment, it could be I don't believe this is possible, it could be anything, because we're here. Yeah. Robert, I can see you going towards the mute button. Yes! Good man.
I suppose it's just being worn down in a corporate business and being in a, it's just some of those profiles that you put up there at the end was just like, yeah, that's me. That's me.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to think on my daily tasks that I do at the moment, do I find any joy in any of them? I suppose that's where I am at the moment, but I obviously used to. And I suppose it's just finding that again, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's it. To be absolutely fair, I used to adore my job. I was really good at it. I got out of bed. I started running towards it. And I was saying this to someone else today. I didn't notice when it started to shift, but it was a slow fade. It wasn't I hate this overnight. Can I ask you a few more questions?
You can. Yeah, sure. No problem.
So if you were to say, often if people book a call with, always, I will ask you to just guesstimate what percentage of your average day is joyful or at least satisfying?
Probably about 45 minutes, maybe something like that. 30 minutes, 45. Yeah, my working day or my whole day?
No, in your working day, just at work.
My working day. Yes. Yeah, about 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
That's the time spent at the coffee machine, right?
That's walking down to my kitchen and putting the kettle on. Yeah. No, it's not quite that bad, but yeah.
Okay, so let's be more generous. Let's say it's an hour.
All right, okay, an hour. I'll settle on an hour, shall we?
So 1/8 of the potentially 8 hours. Yeah. So
yeah.
Jesus, I'm awful at math. Anyway, 1/8 of the time you spent at work is satisfying.
Yeah.
7/8 isn't. Yeah. You look smiley and happy. Yeah. If that was me, I might, because it's not awful. It might be a little bit, because it doesn't sound awful. Because it was awful, you'd be feeling it. Something in your body would be telling me this is awful. Or are you just have you just got a happy face?
I've got a happy face.
So of those 3 strategies, which do you think would be most impactful for you? So the first was getting rid of your kryptonite. The second was figuring out your superpowers.
Superpowers, yeah. I think it's defining those superpowers. I really enjoy engaging with people, right? Every single day I enjoy engaging with people. I will just, interaction of buying a cup of coffee, I will ask the barista, how's their day? Make sure you have a good day. I will always engage in any conversation with anyone.
Yes, because that gives you a jolt of joy.
Gives me energy. Yeah, make somebody else, smile at a stranger, do all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Really enjoy doing it. Really enjoy doing it.
So some people.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
So in the old days, you would be called a people person. Yeah, that doesn't fly with me. You are a people person, yes, but it's not enough. There's not enough specificity there for you to do something with that. Yeah.
Yes.
So Ben says, going to get the coffee is the good part of the day because you're interacting, but there will be certain situations with certain people at certain stages or at certain emotions will be involved. You will be doing something in that conversation. So if all the conversations are quite joyful, there's degrees of joy that we would go to, which are the most joyful. Yeah. Which are which are just the little freeze on coffee. But that's where the magic is with you, because then you could bring that to work. And that will only be one superpower. That won't be 4. Yeah. So that might be where I'd start with you if you were doing some work on this alone. That's definitely where I'd start. Yeah. And the superpower stuff, there's nobody that wouldn't benefit from knowing what their superpowers are, because I can bring them to my weekend. Yeah. I can bring them to that scary thing I'm doing so I'm less scared. Yeah. And that's where the magic is you become the designer, the controller of your joy.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. That's a really good question.
My pleasure.
All right. don't go too close to the button because I'll see you. No, I can't see everybody, so I just
There is a question in the chat from Jess, Lucia.
Brilliant. Can you read it out to me?
Yeah, so just asking, have any of your success stories gone back to studying to achieve their new goals, like an MA or a professional short course?
Oh my God, I'm trying to read Ben's. Yeah. Okay. I have really strong feelings about this. Hang on, who asked this question? Jess. Jess, I have really strong feelings about this. I will not, only one of my clients has gone back to study a master's. Yeah. And that was because we'd understood her kryptonite, we understood her superpowers. She was academically brilliant, and she knew exactly the role that she wanted to do when she qualified, and she could not get that role without this qualification. Those are the only circumstances I will support going back to school. It's a very easy decision when you don't know what you want to do afterwards. And I feel this, it's like the biggest hurt I have, that I wasted 18 months, a lot of money, huge stress, and was knee-walkingly exhausted, and still at the end did not know what I wanted to do. I had not done enough research to justify the investment of time and human energy. So I only have one client who's done that, because I'm really, really strongly against it, unless it fits with the method and it's the only way to get there. Because at our age, and also, look, if you've got a bucket of money and you just want to go back to school, crack on. But those sort of people don't work with me. They want to connect the dots to the future in a way that makes sense and has lower risk. Oh, Jess, I'd love to know what you think about that. You can pop it in the chat if you can't speak. And also, if anybody else has any idea, any comments on that. Reassuring. Okay, good. I hate them too. Brilliant. Thank you, Jess. Love that. Does anybody else, like, this is, we've got 5 or 6 minutes. If somebody wants a tiny bit of consulting, Chris,
I'll throw a little thing out there. So I'm in a different situation. Mm-hmm. First of all, I'm not from the UK or Ireland, so that feels weird. But I was in a position that was exhausting and draining. I didn't mind the work, but the culture was bad. You don't need to go into that. Also, at the same time, I was going through marriage counseling, which has ended in we're getting divorced. So there was a lot falling apart all at one time. And now we're wrapping up the divorce. That's going okay. It's fine. But I've changed jobs. So I've been in this new position for 6 months. It's not bad, but I've been in education and schools and doing that kind of work, which I love, but it does not pay. And so I've been trying to figure out what a way forward is between. Usually people make their money when they're younger and then go do something good for the world later. It's like, well, I've done a lot of good for the world. Maybe can I sell my soul for a little bit? Not quite sure how that works out. But with the combination of the new position and the personal life still getting settled, I don't know what the question is, but
yes. Okay, so there's a lot of change. Yeah. There's a lot of change there, and it needs a little settling. Yeah. And this is long-term thinking that you don't want to start in 5 years' time. Yes. So yes. It's long-term thinking that you invest time in. I'm just going to say soon. I have no idea what that is, but the thing you can do without changing anything is make sure your kryptonite is minimized and make sure your superpowers are at work. One of the things I find about educators is that they're really adaptable. They learn quickly and they can dance change. And Kirsten is exactly that person. 32 years of teaching, knew that learning was going to be part of her next journey. And also she wanted to earn substantially. Yeah. So also, if you can educate children, I assume you're educating children.
I was a teacher in middle school for a while, and then I moved into technology with education. So I kind of do that middle ground between the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that, I also know you have really good influencing skills. Yeah, I know you have good communication skills, but I also know every teacher. That's too generalization. A lot of teachers have those things. What you need to figure out is your uniqueness. Because once you figure out that, this job will get better, which means you have a little bit more space to then go, I feel like there's a direction finder process that would be very helpful for you. Yeah. And it's a thinking process, not a doing process.
Okay.
The doing comes afterwards. So we separate the thinking from the doing, because if you were to start the doing without exactly the right thinking, Jesus, yeah, that's scary, fear of failure everywhere. So when people have chosen the direction and they've done the other stuff, they are sprinting towards something, not tentatively stepping into something. Yeah. So that's the kind of, it feels like there's a lot of change now. So maybe the thinking needs to be done, not the doing.
Okay, I appreciate that. Last question, real quick. What's happening on your middle finger of your right hand? Is that a bow ring? That's lovely. Oh, okay. I see. I thought it was like a little Christmas bow or something. I was confused. Nice. That's beautiful.
No, it's just a little coral ring that someone gave me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for noticing. Okay. So if there are no other questions, we are at the end of our time. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for asking questions, you brave few, and for commenting and engaging. I'd love to speak to you all before January. If you like what you heard, if you think I'm right for you, no pressure. But hopefully you've learned something about designing your joy at work tomorrow. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We had a lot of Irish people, actually, didn't we? Yeah. I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you. All right. Bye, Chris. See you soon. Maybe Nick's already gone, so we will say goodbye. Okay. What am I doing? I don't want to report Nick. Don't report. Okay, shall we switch the recording off?